The old story ends here. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Here. The excuses end here. The hesitation ends here. The quiet self-betrayal you've been calling patience ends here. This is not motivation. This is a declaration. A line drawn in the sand between who you were and who you refuse to abandon any longer. You didn't come this far to keep sabotaging yourself. You didn't survive what you survived just to live beneath your capacity. Never again will you wait for permission to become who you already are. Never again will fear sit in the driver's seat while your potential rides in the back, silent and ignored. From this moment forward, there is a new standard, a new identity, a new agreement with yourself. Say it, not as hope, not as a wish, but as a command. Chapter 1. The Line in the Sand. The price of inaction is far greater than the cost of making a mistake. Tony Robbins. There comes a moment, quiet, sharp, unmistakable, when denial collapses under the weight of truth. Not because someone exposed you, not because life shouted louder, but because you finally stopped looking away. This is that moment. Right now. The moment where pretending becomes exhausting. Where excuses lose their flavor. Where the story you've been telling yourself can no longer survive your awareness. You feel it, don't you? That internal tightening. That subtle pressure behind the chest. That knowing that says, I can't keep living like this. This is not weakness. This is honesty awakening. And honesty, raw, uncomfortable honesty, is always the beginning of power. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they never end anything. They keep doors cracked open. They keep old identities on life support. They keep saying, maybe later, maybe after this, maybe when I'm ready. But here is the truth your mind has avoided. Nothing new begins until something old is finished. You cannot step into a new life while still emotionally renting space in the old one. You cannot rise while secretly negotiating with who you used to be. And yet, that's what most people do. They drift. They drift through jobs they've outgrown. They drift through habits they've outlived. They drift through relationships, beliefs, and patterns that no longer fit, hoping time will make the decision for them. But time doesn't decide. You do. And every day you don't decide, you decide by default. This is where self-honesty becomes unavoidable. Because deep down, you already know the truth. You know where you've been stalling. You know where you've been betraying yourself in small, quiet ways. You know which part of your life feels heavy, stale, misaligned. You don't need more information. You need finality. The mind loves the word someday. It sounds harmless, responsible, even hopeful. But someday is the most dangerous lie the brain tells. Someday keeps the nervous system comfortable. Someday delays discomfort. Someday protects the ego from risk. Someday is not a plan. It is a sedative. And while you wait for someday, your potential sits idle, like an engine running without movement, slowly burning itself out. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I'll start when things calm down. I'll commit when I feel more confident. I'll change when I'm sure. But certainty does not come before action. It comes because of action. Even the most accomplished people, Oprah, Serena Williams, Nelson Mandela, did not move forward because fear disappeared. They moved forward while fear was present. The difference is not courage. The difference is decision. They drew a line. And once a line is drawn, everything changes. Before the line, you negotiate. After the line, you execute. Before the line, pain feels like punishment. After the line, pain becomes instruction. This is where your relationship with pain must change. Pain is not here to destroy you. Pain is a signal. It is your internal alarm system saying, this no longer fits. This no longer aligns. This version of you has expired. But when pain is misunderstood, it becomes a sentence, a label, a story. I'm broken. This is just how life is. I guess this is my limit. No. Pain is not a life sentence. It is a message. And the message is always the same. Something must end. You don't heal by numbing pain. You heal by listening to it, then acting decisively. This is the moment where you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this demanding of me?" Because clarity doesn't come from comfort. It comes from confrontation. Confronting the truth that you have outgrown parts of your life. Confronting the truth that staying the same now hurts more than changing. Confronting the truth that your soul is asking for a higher standard. This is where the line in the sand is drawn. Not dramatically, not emotionally, but deliberately. A line that says, "I no longer tolerate what disconnects me from my power. I no longer delay what I already know. I no longer abandon myself to stay comfortable." This line is internal. No one else needs to see it. But once it's drawn, you will feel it. Because something settles inside you. The nervous system shifts. The mind quiets. The endless inner debate stops. And in that stillness, a new identity begins to form. This is the point of no return. Not because life becomes easier, but because going back would now require lying to yourself. And you've done enough of that. You didn't survive what you survived to remain undecided. You didn't endure the setbacks, the losses, the disappointments just to stay half committed to your own life. You are here because something in you refused to disappear. That something is not asking for motivation. It is asking for leadership. Your leadership. So let this be the moment you stop drifting. Let this be the moment you stop waiting for permission, from people, from circumstances, from fear. Let this be the moment you decide, not emotionally, but structurally. Decide what ends. Decide what you no longer tolerate. Decide what version of yourself is no longer allowed to run the show. You don't need to know every step. You only need to know where the line is. Because once the line is drawn, your behavior will reorganize around it. Energy follows decision. Clarity follows commitment. Momentum follows finality. And from this moment forward, you are no longer wandering. You are choosing. Stand there for a second. On that line. Feel the weight of it. The responsibility. The power. This is where drifting ends. This is where deciding begins. And once you decide, there is no going back. Chapter 2. The Subtle Art of Self-Betrayal. When you say yes to others, make sure you are not saying no to yourself. Paulo Coelho. There is a quiet thief living inside most of us. It is not a stranger. It is not an enemy. It is you. The thief wears many masks. It calls itself patience. It calls itself responsibility. It calls itself logic. It convinces you that saying later is wise. That putting yourself last is noble. That waiting for perfect conditions is smart. And for years, you listen. You obey. You bend your truth into a shape that no longer fits. This is self-betrayal. The soft, silent kind that slips past your defenses. The kind that creeps in while you are busy being good or reasonable. The kind that leaves your soul whispering, "I'm still here, but I am starving." Think about it. How many mornings have you promised yourself, "Today I will start. Today I will speak up. Today I will honor my dreams." And by nightfall, the promise evaporates like mist, replaced by another excuse. Your mind rationalizes it. You call it patience. You call it discipline. You call it timing. But here is the truth. Every unkept promise to yourself is a seed of self-doubt. Every small betrayal grows roots in your nervous system. Every compromise erodes the foundation of your confidence. Even brilliant minds, powerful leaders, and world changers have faced this silent enemy. Steve Jobs knew the frustration of abandoning ideas he feared would fail. Serena Williams has battled the inner voice that said, "Rest. Step back. You're enough." Nelson Mandela endured decades when the world wanted him silent, yet he had to guard against the quiet surrender within himself first. The lesson is universal. No one conquers life externally until they master the internal terrain. Your brain is wired for comfort. It normalizes disappointment. It tells you, this is your limit, while you stand on the threshold of possibility. It celebrates survival, not thriving. It whispers that repeated compromise is evidence of wisdom, when in reality, it is the architecture of mediocrity. Self-betrayal is not dramatic. It is subtle. It creeps in through your calendar, through your phone, through the tiny habits you repeat without reflection. You skip your morning practice because work is busy. You don't speak your truth because it's not the right time. You settle for less in love, in money, in life, because this is practical. Each time, the voice of loyalty to yourself grows quieter. Each time, the fire that could transform you into brilliance flickers and wanes. And here is the painful part. You are often the last person to notice. Your own sabotage wears the cloak of normalcy. Your own compromise masquerades as virtue. Your own fear convinces you that self-denial is an act of responsibility. But it is not. It is a slow erosion of potential. Now, imagine for a moment the opposite. Imagine treating every promise to yourself as sacred. Imagine that your yes is an unbreakable agreement, rooted deep in honor and intention. Imagine that every time you choose yourself, you grow a little taller, a little stronger, a little freer. Oprah built her empire not by listening to what everyone else thought she should do. She honored herself, even when the world doubted her. Every step toward self-loyalty became a stepping stone to massive influence. The same can be true for you. The same fire can rise in your life. The first step is awareness. Notice the moments you betray yourself. Name them. Feel the subtle sting of every compromise. You skip the workout. You postpone the conversation. You stay silent when your voice matters. This is the terrain you must map. Not with shame. Not with guilt. But with honesty. Because only awareness births choice. And here is the most powerful truth. You can reverse the pattern at any time. You can decide that from this moment forward, every promise you make to yourself is sacred. Every commitment is non-negotiable. Every action aligns with the person you know you are meant to become. Self-trust is the bridge between who you are and who you can be. Without it, confidence is a mirage. Without it, ambition is an echo that fades. Without it, potential stays trapped inside, waiting for someone to allow it out. Think about Nelson Mandela walking free after decades in prison. The world expected revenge, bitterness, compromise. But he first had to rebuild his trust in himself. He had to reaffirm the person he wanted to be before he could change the world. The principle is simple. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot lead from betrayal. You cannot rise without loyalty to yourself. Your task is to honor yourself. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now. And it is not selfish. It is sacred. It is a signal to the universe, to your subconscious, and to your own nervous system that you will no longer settle. Every time you choose you, over comfort, over expectation, over fear, you reinforce a neural pathway of empowerment. You rewire your brain to expect alignment. You teach your body, I am worthy. I am capable. I am loyal to myself. This is the subtle art of self-betrayal reversed. It is quiet, yet seismic. It is personal, yet universal. It is invisible, yet transformative. So here is your call. Notice the patterns. Name the compromises. Feel the cost. Then act decisively. Say yes to your commitments. Honor your boundaries. Protect your time, your energy, your mind, and your vision. Because self-loyalty is the gateway to all freedom. It is the spark that lights your fire. It is the seed from which greatness grows. You have been walking a path of quiet sabotage. Now you rise. You reclaim yourself. You rebuild your trust. And from this moment, there is no turning back. You are loyal. You are aligned. You are unstoppable. Every choice you make from here forward, every word, every action, every breath, is a declaration. I serve myself first. I honor my potential. I am no longer available for betrayal. Let this fire grow inside you, warm, relentless, unshakable. Let it illuminate every dark corner where self-doubt once lived. Let it forge a new identity, stronger and braver than the one you've carried until now. The subtle art of self-betrayal ends here. The art of self-loyalty begins. And it begins with you, right now, choosing to rise. Chapter 3. Fear lost its authority. Everything you want is on the other side of fear. Jack Canfield. Fear. It sits quietly in the corners of your mind. It whispers. It nudges. It convinces you to stop, to wait, to stay small. And for most people, it becomes the ruler of their life. Not the conscious mind. Not the heart. Fear takes the wheel, and you sit in the passenger seat, watching opportunity drive by while you cling to comfort. But here's the truth. Fear is not reality. It is learned. A habit repeated until it feels unshakable. A story your brain tells itself again and again until it convinces you that danger is everywhere, even where it isn't. Think about it. Steve Jobs was terrified of failure. Serena Williams has faced fear before every match, every championship point. Nelson Mandela spent decades fearing the loss of hope, but he learned to act through it. Fear is always present. The difference is who leads, you or fear. Most people mistake fear's presence for a stop sign. If it exists, it must be a signal to retreat. So they wait. They wait for certainty, for permission, for courage to arrive like a messenger at the door. But courage is not delivered. Courage is forged in motion, while fear is screaming, while your heart races, while your body begs for safety. Fear becomes the driver because of repetition. Every time you shrink, your brain stores the memory. Every time you avoid discomfort, your nervous system learns, this is safer. Every time you let fear choose for you, your identity bends, just slightly, until it forgets its own power. And then one day, you look back. You wonder why your potential has been sitting quietly in the back seat while fear has been steering. Why your dreams feel out of reach. Why you have waited decades for life to allow you to move forward. Here is a secret few people understand. Fear is not the enemy. Fear's control is. Fear is an emotion. It is data. It is information your body sends you about perceived risk. It is never a command. Oprah understood this early in her journey. Every time she faced rejection, judgment, or criticism, fear whispered, "Stop." But she learned to let fear sit beside her, acknowledge it, listen to it, and then step forward anyway. Fear became her advisor, not her CEO. The same principle applies to you. You cannot eliminate fear. You cannot wait for it to disappear. But you can change your relationship with it. The moment you see fear as information instead of authority, you reclaim your internal leadership. You step into the driver's seat. You rewrite the rules. You tell your nervous system, I am the decision maker now. Imagine fear as a shadow. It grows and shrinks depending on how much attention you give it. When you chase it, when you obey it, it dominates. When you stand firmly, acknowledge it, and move anyway, it retreats. This is the difference between fear-led and self-led. Think of the everyday person, someone you know, someone who wakes up with the weight of what if pressing down on them. They sit at the crossroads, trembling, and hesitate. Fear whispers, wait. You're not ready. And they believe it. Meanwhile, someone else, someone just like them, feels fear, yes, but decides. I may be scared, but I will move. I may be uncertain, but I will act. Who do you think grows? Who do you think builds momentum, confidence, and a life that matters? Fear cannot be banished. It will always exist. But its power over you can end today. The key is simple, reassign it. Fear is no longer the decider. It is a data point. It is a signal, not a sentence. It is an alert, not an authority. Your nervous system may resist this. It may scream at first. You may feel dizzy, off balance, like the ground beneath you has shifted. That is because fear has ruled for too long. And now, for the first time, you are learning to lead. Confidence is built in these moments. Not when life is safe. Not when the conditions are perfect. But in the storms. In the tension. In the pressure where fear lives. Look at Steve Jobs again. Every product launch, every innovation, every radical idea was birthed in fear. But he did not wait to feel fearless. He acted through it. Serena Williams did not wait to feel confident before stepping onto the court. She stepped, and confidence followed motion. And you? You are no different. Your potential is not waiting for permission. Your brilliance is not waiting for the storm to calm. Your purpose is calling you into the fire, and you must walk through it. Here is how to reclaim leadership from fear. First, notice it. Label it for what it is. Fear is an emotion, a signal, a warning system, not a command. Second, feel it fully. Acknowledge the racing heart, the shallow breath, the tension in your body. Do not fight it. Do not hide from it. Let your nervous system understand, I see you. You are safe to exist, but you do not control me. Third, move anyway. Take one small step. One action that says, I lead. I decide. I act. Momentum grows here. Neural pathways shift. Your identity rewires itself around action, not avoidance. Fear will still exist. It will still try to manipulate your mind. But every time you choose action, every time you reclaim leadership, fear loses authority. You are no longer waiting for perfect conditions. You are no longer seeking permission. You are no longer a hostage to hesitation. From this moment forward, you stand in the truth. Fear is a companion. Fear is a teacher. Fear is a signal, but never the CEO. The first time you act while scared, it feels like rebellion. The second time, it feels like power. The third time, it feels like freedom. And after that, fear becomes your ally instead of your jailer. So rise now. Feel the fear. Acknowledge it. And step forward. Your life waits, not for courage to arrive, but for you to decide. Your destiny waits, not for fear to vanish, but for your leadership to awaken. Fear lost its authority the moment you remembered, you were born to lead yourself. Move. Now. Chapter 4. No more permission slips. Don't compromise yourself, you're all you've got. Janis Joplin. For too long, you have waited. You have waited for the nod, the approval, the quiet stamp of permission from people, circumstances, or conditions outside your control. And in that waiting, life has passed. Opportunities drifted by. Your potential sat quietly in the back seat, watching while others, less capable, less prepared, less ready, moved forward. Seeking approval is seductive. It feels safe. It feels like strategy. It feels polite. But in reality, it is a slow death of your power. It teaches your brain to outsource self-validation, to give the authority of your life to others. It trains your nervous system to wait for a signal before acting. It convinces your mind that alignment with someone else equals alignment with your destiny. Think about it. How many times have you asked, is this okay? Am I doing this right? Will they approve? Every yes you seek from another is a no to yourself. Every permission slip you hand out is a quiet surrender of identity. And every moment you delay acting on your vision is a moment your life contracts instead of expands. Oprah once said, you get in life what you have the courage to ask for. Notice that she didn't wait for permission. She didn't hold back her voice until someone validated her worth. She claimed it, and the world adjusted. The principle is simple. Permission is a myth. The world does not grant it. You do. Every human being who has left an indelible mark, Steve Jobs, Serena Williams, Nelson Mandela, acted before evidence appeared. They did not wait until the conditions were perfect. They did not wait until someone else said, yes, you are allowed. They moved first, and authority followed their action. When you rely on external confirmation, your nervous system and your brain reinforce limitation. You rewire yourself to expect judgment before action. You teach yourself that safety equals approval. You train your mind to shrink until the signals arrive. And meanwhile, your potential rots quietly in the shadows. But imagine a different reality. A life where you decide your own worth. Where your action is determined by vision, not validation. Where your voice is your own authority. This is identity ownership. This is stepping off the conveyor belt of permission. This is forging a new pathway through fire, not waiting for the green light. Identity is never something to be granted. It is claimed. It is embodied. It is declared with every choice, every word, every action. When you act aligned before evidence appears, you signal to your brain that you are trustworthy to yourself. Neurologically, the body begins to recognize capability. Confidence grows. Momentum is born. Fear loses its grip. Every small yes you give yourself rewires expectation. Every refusal to wait for external validation strengthens your internal leadership. Every moment of courage trains the nervous system to recognize its own authority. Think of the everyday person, the friend, the colleague, the neighbor, who hesitates because of what others might think. They hold back ideas, relationships, investments, even acts of kindness. And they suffer quietly. Now imagine the same person acting as if they already own their identity, speaking their truth, creating boldly, living fully. The world bends around action. The universe responds to clarity, but only if you lead the charge. Choosing alignment over acceptance is the core of self-authorization. Acceptance is external. Alignment is internal. One asks permission. The other demands nothing but integrity with your own soul. This is why waiting for permission is a trap. Because permission rarely comes, and even when it does, it is meaningless. It does not activate your nervous system. It does not ignite your identity. Only your own affirmation does that. This is the point where you must make a choice. Will you continue to hand out your power like a borrowed currency? Or will you claim it for yourself, boldly, decisively, unshakably? Oprah did not wait for the media to call her worthy. She became worthy in the act of creating. Steve Jobs did not wait for investors to validate his vision. He built, he iterated, he risked, and the world caught up. Serena Williams did not wait for permission to dominate on the court. She stepped into her power again and again, earning her authority in motion. And you? You are no different. You are capable. You are ready. You are already allowed, because your life belongs to you. It starts with the small acts. Speaking your truth. Saying no without guilt. Choosing the path that aligns with your values, even if others disapprove. Taking action without seeking a nod. And then it grows. Your choices become habits. Your habits become character. Your character becomes authority. Authority over yourself. Authority over your decisions. Authority over your life. This is not arrogance. It is self-loyalty. It is courage in motion. It is identity claimed before the world gives it. Here is the truth. Life will not wait for your permission slip. The universe does not pause for your validation requests. Your potential does not knock politely. It demands action. And you must answer. So rise now. Refuse to seek permission. Refuse to shrink for comfort. Refuse to wait for validation that may never come. Claim your identity. Own your choices. Step into your power. Because every time you act aligned without permission, a spark ignites inside. A neural pathway fires. A new identity takes root. A future self is born, stronger, bolder, freer. From this moment forward, no one, not circumstance, not fear, not opinion, controls your authority. It belongs to you. It has always belonged to you. All that was left was for you to claim it. Your life is no longer a waiting room. It is a stage, a canvas, a battlefield. And you are in charge. Rise. Move. Create. Decide. Because no one can authorize your destiny, but you. From this moment on, no more permission slips. Chapter 5. Raising the Internal Standard. Your level of success will rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. Jim Rohn. There is a quiet truth that most people overlook. Goals alone will never transform you. You can set every target imaginable, craft every plan with precision, yet your results will remain mediocre if your standards are low. Standards are invisible rulers. They dictate how you speak, how you move, how you allow yourself to be treated. They shape your decisions, often before your mind even consciously realizes it. Most people live under hidden agreements they never even signed. I'll accept this because it's easier. I'll settle here because it's safe. I'll tolerate this behavior because I don't want conflict. These invisible contracts govern the life you live, the one you complain about at night while your dreams sit dormant in your mind. Your nervous system has been trained for comfort, for survival, for avoidance. It has learned to recoil from discomfort. It has memorized patterns of hesitation. It knows how to shrink when pressure appears, how to hold back when expectation rises. But if you want to rise, truly rise, your standards must exceed your comfort. Consider Serena Williams on the court. She trains long before tournaments begin. She endures pain, exhaustion, and criticism. Every shot, every drill, every moment of focus is guided not by a goal on the scoreboard, but by the internal standard she has set for herself, a standard of excellence that never negotiates. Oprah built her empire in the quiet of her own discipline. She refused to accept mediocre opportunities. She refused to tolerate environments that compromised her vision. Her standards were high, non-negotiable, and they became the gravitational pull that shaped her reality. You too must understand this. Standards, not goals, determine outcomes. Goals are temporary, external markers. Standards are internal. Standards are enduring. Standards tell your mind, this is who I am. This is what I accept. This is what I refuse to compromise. Ask yourself, what standards are governing your life right now? What hidden agreements have you been obeying? How many times have you tolerated behavior, excuses, or environments that shrink you instead of stretch you? This is your invitation to rewrite the contract. To create a new baseline, a non-negotiable internal standard that cannot be ignored, bargained with, or undermined. Your nervous system is like a muscle. It will only grow stronger when challenged. You cannot suddenly leap into excellence if your body, mind, and emotions are trained to tolerate mediocrity. You must condition yourself to withstand more, to expect more, to refuse less. This is why the journey of standards is often uncomfortable. Your mind will resist. Your body will tremble. Your past habits will scream, return to safety. But this discomfort is growth. It is fire refining you. It is roots stretching deeper in search of water. It is the forging of a stronger identity. Every choice you make to refuse less, to demand more from yourself, strengthens your internal gravity. Every time you honor your standard, your nervous system updates. Every repetition of excellence rewires expectation. The small daily acts of integrity and courage accumulate, until excellence is no longer a goal, it is your default state. Steve Jobs once said, "Be a yardstick of quality." Some people aren't used to an environment where excellence is expected. He understood that raising standards is not about public recognition, it is about self-definition. It is about deciding what your life will accept and what it will reject. Consider the everyday person, the colleague, the friend, the neighbor, who does just enough to survive. They tolerate mediocrity because it is familiar. They compromise because it is easier than conflict. They believe they are doing fine. Meanwhile, a single decision to raise their internal standard can trigger a chain reaction. Better choices in relationships. Higher expectations at work. Greater discipline in health. An internal authority that radiates outward, reshaping circumstances to match identity. This is the moment to replace survival patterns with expansion patterns. Survival patterns are reactive. They preserve, they defend, they retreat. Expansion patterns are creative. They move forward, they build, they demand more from life and from yourself. They teach the body and mind that you are no longer available for small thinking, small effort, small compromises. Here is a simple but radical exercise. Every time you feel the temptation to settle, ask, does this meet my standard or my comfort? If it is comfort, step back. If it is your standard, move forward. This is the difference between drift and design. Nelson Mandela endured 27 years in prison. Every day, every moment, was governed by invisible standards, standards of integrity, of vision, of patience. He could have compromised, given in, tolerated less. He did not. And those standards carried him into freedom, not just for himself, but for an entire nation. Your standards have the same power. They are unseen, yet unstoppable. They are invisible, yet magnetic. They call forth opportunities, people, and circumstances that match your identity. Excellence is not a goal. It is a way of living. It is a baseline from which all decisions flow. From this moment, decide. No more tolerating mediocrity. No more accepting excuses. No more negotiating with comfort at the cost of your potential. Raise your internal standard in every arena of your life. Relationships, health, work, creativity, thought, emotion. Refuse to accept what does not serve your growth. Refuse to compromise your values. Refuse to dim your light for anyone else. And here is the most powerful part. Once your standard is raised, your world must adjust. Life has no choice but to meet you where you now stand. This is not arrogance. This is self-clarity. This is fire that refuses to be contained. This is identity forged through action, courage, and unwavering expectation. So rise now. Feel the strength in your choices. Feel the pull of your standard, stronger than fear, stronger than habit, stronger than compromise. Let it dictate your life, not circumstance. Let it guide your decisions, not the opinions of others. Because you are no longer here to merely survive. You are here to thrive. You are here to rise above tolerance. You are here to live in excellence, unapologetically, unshakably, irreversibly. Every time you uphold this standard, the fire inside you grows. Every act of integrity fans the flame. Every refusal to accept less reinforces the identity you are claiming. Stand firm. Raise your baseline. Redefine what is non-negotiable in your life. And remember this always, your standards determine the gravity of your world. Raise them, and everything, people, opportunities, circumstances, will rise to meet you. Excellence is no longer optional. It is now your identity. It is your standard. It is your birthright. And from this moment forward, there is no turning back. Chapter 6. Ending the old emotional contracts. You can't heal what you don't feel, and you can't grow what you don't release. Brené Brown. There is an invisible ledger inside your mind. It records every disappointment, every slight, every unspoken word. It keeps track of every moment you felt unseen, unheard, unworthy. Most people carry this ledger everywhere, unaware that it governs their lives. It negotiates their actions. It sets invisible limits. It whispers, "You are not ready. You are not enough. You must stay small." This is the old emotional contract. A silent agreement you made long ago, often unconsciously, binding your future to the pain of your past. Think about it. How many times have you avoided taking a stand because guilt whispered, "You will hurt them if you do"? How many dreams have been left to gather dust because shame muttered, "You're not worthy"? How often have you over-responsibilized, carrying burdens that were never yours to carry? These contracts are like invisible chains. They shape your choices, restrict your courage, and define what you believe you can or cannot have. And the worst part? They feel familiar, safe, comfortable. But comfort is a trap. It's a cage disguised as routine. It teaches the body to tolerate limitation. It trains the nervous system to shrink when expansion is needed. Emotional liberation begins with awareness. First, you must see the contracts for what they are. They are not truth. They are agreements. They are promises made in survival, not in strength. Oprah understood this in her journey. She recognized the weight of inherited shame, of expectation, of guilt, and she chose to renegotiate every emotional contract she had ever signed. She chose to release what no longer served her. She chose herself. Nelson Mandela, too, demonstrates this principle. Decades in prison could have cemented bitterness. Yet he refused to carry old emotional contracts into his freedom. He forgave. He released. He claimed authority over his internal world first, then over his external life. The first step to ending these contracts is recognizing your emotional habits. Where do you shrink? Where do you over-apologize? Where do you surrender your desires because of invisible guilt? Notice the subtle ways your past negotiates your present. Your mind has memorized patterns of pain, fear, and inadequacy, and it uses them like leverage, telling you what you must do, what you cannot be, what you should tolerate. But these are not rules. They are memorized habits of the nervous system. And like any habit, they can be rewritten. Breaking loyalty to outdated emotional identities is not easy. It requires courage. It requires self-honesty. It requires the willingness to feel fully without defense, the emotions you have been avoiding. Feel the guilt. Feel the shame. Feel the disappointment. Do not push them away. Do not justify them. Name them. Own them. Then release them. Steve Jobs felt the sting of rejection and loss repeatedly. Yet he refused to carry those emotional debts forward. He transformed pain into clarity, into vision, into relentless pursuit. He broke loyalty to the part of himself that would shrink in disappointment, and in doing so, he created innovation that changed the world. Your liberation works the same way. Every time you refuse to let an old emotional contract dictate your behavior, you reclaim power. Every time you choose emotionally healthy boundaries, you teach your nervous system that your growth matters more than outdated loyalty. Emotional boundaries are not walls. They are gates. They allow love, creativity, and expansion to flow in, but they keep limitation, toxicity, and over-responsibility out. They are the blueprint for authority over yourself. Consider the everyday person, the mother, the father, the colleague, the friend, who sacrifices themselves endlessly to avoid discomfort. Their life feels heavy. Their energy is depleted. Their potential sits waiting in the shadows. Now imagine the same person realizing, I do not need permission to prioritize myself. I do not need approval to claim my peace. I do not need past pain to dictate my present. The liberation that follows is seismic. Guilt loses its grip. Shame dissolves into clarity. Over-responsibility transforms into compassionate choice. And here is the neurological truth. Your nervous system cannot differentiate between past trauma and current reality. Every old contract triggers survival responses. Every repeated pattern reinforces limitation. But when you consciously release the emotional debt, your brain begins to encode freedom, choice, authority. You are no longer a passive observer. You are the steward of your internal world. You are the CEO of your emotions. Every boundary you set, every contract you end, every loyalty you resign to the past rewires your identity. This is your authority. Not fear-based, not reactive, not dependent on approval. A deep, unshakable authority rooted in self-respect and clarity. Think of your emotions as fuel. Old contracts burn energy. New authority generates power. When you release what no longer serves you, you redirect energy to creation, courage, and impact. Every time you honor this principle, the world responds. People treat you differently. Opportunities shift. Your environment aligns with your elevated internal state. But it begins inside. Not outside. Not with validation. Not with explanation. Inside. You. Your choice. And the liberation is immediate. The lightness, the clarity, the surge of power, it all begins when you say, I will no longer be bound by what is gone. I will not let pain dictate my future. I am free. From this moment, the old emotional contracts are null and void. You are no longer borrowing your authority from the past. You are no longer carrying invisible debts that shrink your potential. You are the master of your internal world. Rise now. Feel the release. Breathe into the space that has opened inside you. Claim your authority. Set boundaries. Forgive yourself for carrying what was never yours to hold. Your emotions are now allies, not jailers. Your energy is yours to direct. Your future is yours to create. And from this moment forward, you will never sign another contract that diminishes your power. You are free. You are sovereign. You are unstoppable. Chapter 7. Becoming before seeing. Don't wait for opportunity. Create it. Don't wait for permission. Become it. Eric Thomas. Most people think transformation is linear. They think it begins with results, promotion, money, recognition, achievement. They think they will become the person they want to be after the world validates it. But life doesn't work that way. Not for the extraordinary. Not for those who leave a mark on the world. Transformation begins inside, before the evidence appears. Before the promotion. Before the applause. Before the acknowledgement. This is the principle of becoming before seeing. It is the secret behind every giant leap in human history. Consider Oprah. Before she became a household name, she had no stage, no show, no validation. But she acted as if she were already the person she intended to become. She spoke with authority. She held herself with dignity. She believed in the life she was creating. Her body, her voice, her presence, all trained to embody her future self. The world only caught up later. This is the law of identity first. Your actions must precede evidence, or your potential will remain dormant. Most people fail at transformation because identity lags behind action. They want the results first. They chase external proof, thinking it will suddenly rewire who they are. But the body and brain only respond to experience, not intention. Until your body and mind feel safe in the unfamiliar, fear will dominate, hesitation will rule, and your true self will remain locked behind invisible walls. Steve Jobs understood this principle. When he envisioned the iPhone, the world said it was impossible. No one could see it yet, but he acted like it already existed. He spoke to his team as if the reality were already here. He trained his mind, his decisions, his energy to match a future that had no current evidence. Your body learns from experience. Your mind records movement. Your nervous system memorizes patterns. If your identity does not match the action you are taking, dissonance occurs, and hesitation returns. This is why so many fail after deciding to change. They try to act like their future self, but their body, mind, and environment resist. They wait for proof. They wait for certainty. They wait for comfort. And waiting ensures stagnation. Here's the principle you must internalize. Act from your future self. Every choice, every decision, every word spoken, align it with the identity you are claiming. Your body will eventually accept it. Your nervous system will eventually recognize it. And your life will inevitably reflect it. Serena Williams embodies this truth. Every time she steps onto the court, she does not wait to feel confidence. She steps as if she already is the champion, the victor, the record breaker. Her movements, her breath, her focus, they embody her future self before the score confirms it. This is how you collapse the gap between intention and execution. This is how you convert desire into identity. This is how you live the declaration daily, not just emotionally, but physically, cognitively, spiritually. The ordinary person acts like their past self. They are governed by fear, doubt, habit. They try to catch up to the life they want. But extraordinary individuals become first, and the world aligns later. Imagine a sculptor standing before a block of marble. They do not wait to see the statue inside. They act as if the form already exists. Every strike, every curve, every movement is in alignment with the vision of the finished masterpiece. And eventually, the masterpiece emerges, not by accident, but by consistent embodiment. Your life is the marble. Your choices are the strikes. Your daily actions are the chiseling that reveals the person you are destined to become. Teaching the body to feel safe in the unfamiliar is crucial. Your nervous system must learn that courage is sustainable. That action without proof is not dangerous, it is growth. That stepping forward before certainty is not reckless, it is mastery. This is why waiting for proof is the death of potential. The world will never provide permission slips or guarantees. You must be the proof. You must train your identity to lead, not follow. Consider the everyday person, the colleague, the friend, the parent, who dreams of something greater. They hold back. They say, "I'll start when." When what? When the world says yes. When conditions align. When they finally feel ready. This is the lie. The only thing that awakens potential is embodiment, acting like the person you are meant to be before the world confirms it. Here's how to start. First, define your future self. Not in vague terms, but with clarity. Who speaks with authority? Who moves with courage? Who creates without hesitation? Who commands respect, not by demand, but by alignment? Second, begin acting as that person now. Speak as they would. Move as they would. Make decisions as they would. Even in small ways, each action signals to your brain, "This is my identity." Third, train your nervous system to tolerate the unfamiliar. Expect discomfort. Feel fear. Notice the resistance, but move through it anyway. Your body will learn that expansion is safe, and hesitation will lose authority. Fourth, collapse the gap between intention and execution. Do not delay. Do not wait. Do not negotiate with hesitation. Act immediately, consistently, relentlessly. Fifth, live the declaration daily. Not emotionally. Not temporarily. Every thought, every word, every action must be in alignment with the self you have chosen to embody. Nelson Mandela's life is a masterclass in this principle. For decades, he acted with dignity, courage, and leadership, long before freedom came. He embodied the leader, the liberator, the visionary. When the world finally recognized him, it was only confirming what he had already become. Your future is calling, not for preparation, but for embodiment. Not for permission, but for proof. Not for external validation, but for internal mastery. Rise now. Step fully into the person you intend to be. Move, even if the path is unclear. Act, even if the evidence is invisible. Speak, even if others do not hear. Lead, even if recognition is delayed. Your identity must lead your life. Your being must precede your seeing. Your embodiment is the fuel that turns vision into reality. From this moment forward, do not wait for proof. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for certainty. Be now. Become the living proof of your potential. Chapter 8. Discipline as Self-Respect. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. Discipline is misunderstood. Most people see it as restriction, a burden, a punishment. But true discipline is devotion to yourself. It is the daily choice to honor the person you are becoming. It is saying, I respect myself enough to show up consistently. No excuses, no shortcuts, no compromises. Every action you take reinforces the identity you are claiming. Neurologically, your brain records every choice. Every time you honor your commitments to yourself, even when the world is silent, your nervous system begins to trust you. Confidence is born. Integrity takes root. Your potential becomes inevitable. Discipline is not motivation. Motivation is a spark. It ignites briefly, but it fades. Discipline is the fire you feed every day. It is the river carving a canyon through rock, persistent and unyielding. It is the heartbeat of transformation. Look at Serena Williams. Every early morning practice, every grueling drill, every repetition, often unseen, often uncelebrated, is not a punishment. It is her devotion to excellence. It is her commitment to herself. It is how she builds predictability with her own identity. Consider Nelson Mandela. Years in prison demanded discipline not of the body alone, but of the mind and spirit. Every moment of meditation, reflection, and focus was a choice, a ritual that honored the man he intended to become. This consistency became the foundation for unshakable integrity, for the authority to lead a nation. Most people confuse discipline with deprivation. They think they must suffer to achieve. They chase bursts of inspiration and then burn out. But devotion transforms discipline into self-respect. Daily actions are not small, they are monumental. Every time you choose the path of consistency, you send a message to your brain: I am trustworthy. I am committed. I am capable. Your body begins to anticipate excellence as the norm. Your mind aligns with the rhythm of integrity. Your life adjusts to the standard you set for yourself. Discipline as self-respect is also about ending cycles of motivation and burnout. When your actions are rooted in identity, not emotion, you are no longer at the mercy of fleeting feelings. You do not rely on motivation to move forward because movement is no longer optional, it is inevitable. You become predictable to yourself, in the best way possible. Rituals are the scaffolding of this identity. Simple, consistent practices, whether meditation, journaling, focused work, movement, or reflection, train your nervous system to recognize stability and alignment. They create a container in which excellence becomes natural. Steve Jobs was a master of ritual and devotion. He structured his life to prioritize creativity, focus, and clarity. These consistent practices became the invisible scaffolding that allowed him to produce innovations the world had never imagined. Discipline is also about choosing integrity over convenience. Every time you honor your word, every time you follow through with yourself, you are not just building habits, you are fortifying character. You are teaching your nervous system that you are reliable. And nothing is more magnetic to opportunity than a person who is consistent and trustworthy to themselves. Imagine your life as a garden. Each act of discipline is a seed planted. Consistency is the water. Integrity is the sunlight. Over time, the garden flourishes, not by chance, but by design. Neglect the seeds, water sporadically, and the soil becomes barren. This is the difference between inconsistency and integrity. Your consistency does not need fanfare. It does not need acknowledgement. It needs only your devotion. When you honor yourself day after day, your life begins to orbit around your internal authority. Even ordinary people demonstrate this principle when they are most aware. The parent who chooses to wake early and read to their child. The entrepreneur who works when no one is watching. The friend who calls, not because it is convenient, but because it aligns with who they intend to be. These actions, small as they seem, rewire the brain for excellence. They transform identity from aspiration to reality. They embed confidence, competence, and self-trust into your being. Discipline as self-respect also means respecting your limits while refusing excuses. It is not about overworking or harsh rigidity. It is about honoring your potential through intelligent, consistent, aligned action. It is about creating a rhythm that sustains energy and growth, rather than consuming it. Every choice to act with integrity, especially when it is difficult, is a declaration. I am not at the mercy of fleeting emotions. I am devoted to the person I am becoming. This is how excellence becomes inevitable. This is how your future self begins to recognize you as worthy of all you desire. This is how you break cycles of inconsistency and step fully into identity-first action. Oprah, Serena, Mandela, Jobs, they all demonstrate that discipline is not deprivation, it is devotion. It is the backbone of transformation. It is the silent force that aligns intention with execution. It is the fuel that converts potential into reality. You too can embody this principle. Start small, start now. Build rituals that reinforce your internal authority. Honor your word to yourself. Show up consistently. Be predictable to yourself, in the best, highest, most powerful way. Every day, every choice, every repetition becomes a declaration. I respect myself. I honor my potential. I am committed. And when you live in this alignment, the world responds. Your opportunities shift. Your energy stabilizes. Your identity becomes unshakable. Discipline is no longer a task. It is self-respect made visible. It is the bridge between who you are now and who you are becoming. It is the engine of integrity. Rise now. Commit to yourself. Honor the rhythm of consistent action. Train your nervous system, sculpt your identity, and embed excellence into the very fabric of your life. Because your life is not a series of bursts of effort, it is a masterpiece built one devoted, consistent, aligned action at a time. From this moment forward, inconsistency ends. Integrity begins. Self-respect rules. And you, unstoppable and unwavering, are the proof. Chapter 9. The agreement that changes everything. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values become your destiny. Mahatma Gandhi. There comes a moment in every transformation journey when possibility becomes permanence. When the fire you've lit inside no longer flickers, it burns steady, unwavering, unshakable. This is the moment of agreement. This is when never again stops being words on a page and becomes a living code etched into your mind, body, and spirit. Say it out loud, never again. Not as a wish. Not as a hope. Not as a fleeting promise to yourself. Say it as a command, firm, decisive, unyielding. Too often, transformation fails because it is treated as temporary. We change for moments, for seasons, for validation. We drift back into old habits. Old fears creep in. Old doubts whisper, you will never be consistent. You will always falter. But the agreement, the vow you make to yourself, creates permanence. It is the invisible architecture of your new identity. It is the blueprint that your nervous system, your mind, and your actions follow. It is the seal that binds your intentions to reality. Think of Nelson Mandela. 27 years in prison could have hardened bitterness and resignation. Instead, he made an agreement with himself every day. To lead with integrity. To release vengeance. To embody the freedom he envisioned long before the world confirmed it. That agreement carried him, not hope, not external validation, but self-imposed authority. The first step in creating permanence is turning never again into a living code. Living code means this: every time you catch yourself slipping, doubting, hesitating, you do not berate yourself. You do not punish. You correct. Like a master forging steel, you apply heat, you bend, you refine, until the material obeys. Your nervous system records the correction as natural. Your identity reinforces itself. Your mind learns, I am the person I claimed, no exceptions. Consider Serena Williams. Even champions falter. Even she misses a shot, loses focus, faces setbacks. But she self-corrects instantly, without self-criticism that shatters confidence. She responds from command, not mood. She acts from identity, not fear. That is the power of a living agreement. It is forgiveness without compromise, and accountability without self-punishment. Every new identity has warning signs of regression. They are subtle at first: hesitation before action, excuses dressed as reasoning, small compromises in consistency. The difference between regression and transformation is recognition and response. Notice the signs. Adjust immediately. Return to the line in the sand. Never negotiate with drift. Steve Jobs embodied this principle in his pursuit of innovation. Every misstep in product design was not a failure, it was an early warning. He observed, corrected, and returned with unwavering command. No mood dictated the decision. No fear postponed the action. He lived from the standard of his identity, and the results followed. Living from command means your actions are not subject to emotional fluctuation. Mood swings do not determine what you do. Fear does not decide your movement. Every step is taken because it aligns with the identity you have claimed, the agreement you have made, the person you refuse to betray. Oprah's life reflects this embodiment. Long before the world recognized her power, she lived by the internal command to create value, to lift others, to honor her gifts. Her mood, doubt, uncertainty, exhaustion, did not dictate her actions. Her agreement did. And that agreement eventually became a magnet for the life she envisioned. Now it is your turn. This is where the abstract becomes tangible. This is where intention meets action. This is where transformation becomes embodiment. To seal this identity, make a personal vow. Stand before yourself, your reflection, your journal, your inner witness, and declare, I am no longer bound by fear. I am no longer beholden to excuses. I am no longer silent while my potential waits. I am the person I have claimed, now and always. Repeat it. Feel it. Live it. Let the vibration of those words penetrate your nervous system. Let your body memorize the truth. Let your mind anticipate the alignment of life with this command. Your past self may resist. Old habits will try to sneak in. Old fears will knock on the door. But your agreement, your vow, has authority over them. It is the executive order of your identity. It is the law by which your internal world and your external life now operate. Everyday life will test you. Opportunities will challenge your new boundaries. People will tempt you with shortcuts or compromise. Your moods will sway. Your emotions will plead for comfort. This is normal. This is the crucible in which permanence is forged. The difference now is you act from command, not reaction. Every choice reinforces identity. Every correction strengthens the nervous system. Every consistent action cements the agreement. Consider the everyday hero, the parent who refuses to lower standards in raising children, the professional who maintains integrity in the face of temptation, the individual who refuses to surrender dreams to comfort. These are living examples of embodiment. They have created identity-first lives by following the simple, unyielding principle of never again. Embodying transformation means your new self is no longer aspirational, it is operational. It is visible in your actions, tangible in your decisions, felt in your energy. You no longer negotiate with doubt or fear. You act from the identity you have claimed, daily, relentlessly, joyfully. Your never again is not a single moment, it is a lifetime contract. It is renewed in every decision, every action, every breath. It is the standard by which your life will now be measured. Imagine a blacksmith forging a sword. Each strike is a choice. Each heating is an adjustment. The material resists, bends, and hardens. After repetition, the sword emerges strong, sharp, unbreakable. Your identity is the blade. Your agreement is the forge. Every action, aligned with command, strengthens it until it cannot break. Oprah, Jobs, Serena Mandela, all forged their lives this way. And so can you. No excuses. No delay. No negotiation. Rise now. Stand firm. Declare your agreement with conviction. Live it through your choices. Act from command, not mood. Self-correct without self-punishment. Recognize the warning signs. reinforce your standards, and seal your identity with the vow that never again will you settle, shrink, or wait for permission to claim your power. From this moment forward, your transformation is no longer temporary. It is no longer aspirational. It is embodied. Your identity and actions are one. Your standard and your life are inseparable. Your never again is eternal, unshakable, and unstoppable. You are now the living proof. You are the embodiment of your potential. And everything you desire is no longer optional. It is inevitable. You have reached the end of this audiobook. But understand this clearly, you have not reached the end of the work. What ends here is the old agreement. The one that allowed hesitation to masquerade as wisdom. The one that called fear realistic. The one that taught you to shrink in the name of safety. That agreement is no longer valid. From this moment forward, you move differently, not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you are no longer available for self-betrayal. You do not wait. You do not negotiate with doubt. You do not abandon yourself in small, quiet ways and call it patience. You remember this feeling. You return to this decision. You live from this standard. There will be moments when the old voice returns, familiar, convincing, persistent. When it does, you do not argue. You do not explain. You do not justify. You answer with action. You answer with alignment. You answer with a command you have already given yourself. This audiobook was not meant to inspire you. It was meant to remind you. Remind you of who you are when you stop waiting. Remind you of what becomes possible when fear no longer leads. Remind you that your life responds to the standards you enforce, not the intentions you entertain. So carry this with you. Into your decisions. Into your habits. Into the moments no one sees. And when the temptation to retreat appears, when the old story knocks again, you do not reopen the door. You remember the line you drew. You remember the agreement you made. And you say it, calmly, clearly, without emotion, without doubt. Never again.